Live from the local station, this is Weather Authority Weekday.
Hi everyone, I'm Meteorologist Mark Collins. Well, today we're getting into a drier pattern here locally just in time as kids go back to school. We're also going to be looking out at the tropics. We have at least a week of hassle-free tropical conditions because there's a storm off of Africa and it would take at least a week to even get close to the Lesser Antilles, but it could become our first hurricane of this season. So we're going to talk tropics, but first let's touch on the beautiful weather that we've had across the area. Yeah, this weekend we had plenty of rain, especially over those inland areas. It's nice to get the sun to come back. Today we're starting the drying trend, which will lead to very minimal rain activity here. So it is a dry start when kids come home from school. I don't think we'll have much rain around until probably that sunset hour, and even then it's over those inland zones. So we are looking at dry conditions along the beaches. Here you can see there's rain out over the Gulf. There's rain along that trough line off of South Carolina, but nothing here locally. You notice over the Bahamas, the lack of cloud cover. That's because there's some drier air over the Bahamas. That will be directly over us for tomorrow. So rain chances on Tuesday will even be less than today, where we're looking at just a 30% chance of rain here in the local area. So that will put high temperatures in the low 90s, typical for this time of year. We're not talking about any big heat, even without the lack of rainfall to cool you down. But today is going to be a warm day and we have that humidity in place. But let's just see how the temperatures and that moisture works to putting some rain down on the yards. And you see that those inland areas are painting green stripes, which indicate a better probability of rain in Baker County, McClenny, out towards Lake City, and along the Trail Ridge area where we could see some scattered showers, but that's mainly during the sunset time frame. So anywhere from around 7 to 9 o'clock tonight, we'll see some pockets of rain in those locations. Also some of our southern zones, but you notice how the beaches really don't see much rain on this Monday, and nor will they on Tuesday. This is a forecast model showing some of the timing of the rain. Notice how things are pretty quiet here during the afternoon. Kids coming home 2, 3 o'clock in the day, not expecting to see some rain. The upper level winds are from south to north. So as the low level sea breeze comes in and meets up with the Gulf sea breeze along the I-90, I-75 corridor, it could generate some thunderstorms, but then those upper level southerly flows would tend to push rain towards Georgia. So you see how that three-dimensional setup works with these rain showers and thunderstorms coming in through western Clay, in through Alachua, and then working up into Columbia County. That rain pattern misses much of the metro area. So it's very viable that you could get through the whole day without any rain today. So I think today is going to be a pretty quiet day. Let me show you the water vapor loop, because this actually kind of shows the mid and upper levels of the moisture in the air as green. You see how that's shifting out towards the Gulf of Mexico. Notice what's coming in over the Bahamas. That is the really dry air. When you launch a balloon, as they do twice a day in the morning and evenings, today it's measuring about just over 2 inches of moisture in the air. By tomorrow, that orange color represents just over 1.25 inches. So our moisture level will drop almost in half, which is why tomorrow rain chances have lowered down to 20% for Tuesday. So the next couple of days look pretty dry. But then as we head towards the end of the week, that steering flow out of the southwest will tend to push rain back into our area. So if you go to the National Hurricane Center's website, there'll be 3 polygons there. That's what I'm showing you here. 2 yellow spots, which are low to really no chance of development. The one I'm keying in on is that red circle, which is a disturbance near the Cabo Verde Islands. It's pretty far north in latitude. That line there, that latitude line, represents 20 north. So it's almost on the 20 north line. Something that far east and that far north typically misses the Caribbean. So what we're looking at here is a system that will be moving towards the Caribbean, will likely stay north of it. Now, this could likely become, Aaron, a named tropical storm by Tuesday or Wednesday of this week. All the forecast models keep it out to sea. Now, granted, it's early in stage, and once these systems develop, the models become more accurate versus these nascent type of weak lows, especially that far out in the Atlantic. But it is reassuring to say that this storm would likely not impact land just because all the models are in tight agreement with it hugging the bottom of a Bermuda Ridge. What's that ridge? Well, it's this invisible mountain of air that usually parks up between the Azores Islands and Bermuda. That's where it gets its name, the Bermuda Ridge. It's an anticyclonic ridge of high pressure which tends to steer tropical waves towards the west. So we are looking at a tropical wave with a weak area low pressure already established along it. You can kind of make that out here as we go through time, and I've put the tropical wave on there, and you can see these wind vectors going around. Once they close off, they'll likely name this a tropical storm, and usually a closed off circulation center can harness all of the energy back into it and generate additional storms which lead to hurricanes. So by Friday, the European model does show hurricane force winds within that tight ball of clouds, which would be that tropical storm or hurricane. Notice here the model is very close to the Lesser Antilles, but scoots north of it. And by this weekend, we might be looking at a system somewhere in the vicinity, close to Puerto Rico, or hopefully just to the north of it. But like I said, all those models, even the GFS, the Euro, take it closer to Bermuda than the United States. So it is a long ways off, and we're talking now about a week from tomorrow, still being off our coast and possibly moving northward. So let's look at the overall steering pattern. The orange colors is the anticyclone, the high pressure, the Bermuda Ridge, and see how that low moves up and around it just like a clock. So it moves around that steering flow. And when storms grow and get stronger, they get taller. And taller storms tend to fix along that high and ride around it. Now, the thing is, if these storms remain weaker means more western. They tend to scoop beneath that ridge and can steer closer to the Bahamas. So that's something that we're going to watch. I'm rooting for a stronger developing storm because that would likely keep it off the coast of the United States and keep it out to sea as it rides around that ridge of high pressure. So what would make a wall that would steer that into the United States? A ridge that would remain intact. The reason why you see it break down is because there's expected to be a cold front that swings off of New England this weekend. That's another feature that we'll be watching on the maps across the United States, just how that feature plays into steering that, that low out to sea. So the timing for any type of swells, right now that would be the only impacts to the United States, would be some areas of rain over Bermuda and some waves showing up along our coast. When would those waves arrive? Well, it wouldn't be this week. It would be more towards the early part of next week. So let's run the models forward here, and you can see that the wave heights are only around 2 feet or so, and then they start to build into early next week. This is interesting because the yellow shows tropical storm force winds. When will we start to see the potential for hurricane development? Well, this would be on Friday into Saturday. This is the European model showing some of those hurricane force wind swaths showing up in orange, and mainly north of the Greater Antilles. So that's something to watch too as we head into the weekend. That's what I'm looking for, that stronger storm, which would push that storm away from the United States. So like I said, there's no impact to that system here this week. At the earliest would be next week, where we're actually focused on where that storm could go. But right now, it looks like it could be a fish storm. Back to our own weather, notice these lower rain chances here the next couple of days. Kids settling back into school, parents getting into the routine here, weather definitely helping you out on that end. Rain chances do start to increase as we head towards the end of the week into Thursday and Friday. As rain chances get a boost with that southwesterly steering flow, that means more of you would experience rain versus some of the more rural locations out west of Jacksonville in interior North Florida. So the trend will be changing here. Hopefully you had a pretty good weekend. I know there was a lot of rain around, but at least today and tomorrow you're going to see a pause in those rain showers. So that's going to wrap it up here for today. Hopefully that was a deep dive in your tropics, and we'll see you again tomorrow on the Weather Authority Weekday.
See why every day more people are choosing News 4 Jax, Northeast Florida and South Georgia's #1 source for local news.